Welcome, everyone, to Around the ACL. It's Michelle Thompson here with Trey Ryder and Anthony Ione. And I don't know about you guys, but I just came off a weekend packed with cornhole. I just led my first women's retreat, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of sun, a lot of wind, a lot of sunburns. But kind of like Spencer McKenzie's vibe, where you're like, oh, it's cloudy, it's fine. And then everyone's sunburnt a second later. So a lot of fun and a lot of cornhole. But how was your guys' weekends?
Yeah, we can keep talking about your weekend. I moved this weekend, and moving sucks. So,
I saw that.
It's the worst thing ever. So, it was the best move I've ever had. But it's still like you're talking about like a 1 out of 10 versus a 2 out of 10 type of thing. But so we can keep talking about your retreat and how well that went, because I don't want to talk about moving.
Well, and we were saying earlier that I was saying that a lot of the guys want one, but Anthony's saying no, guys don't want retreats.
Oh, no, they do. They just don't want to take notes during their retreat. The only paper and a pen you're going to get guys taking out on a retreat is like maybe keeping a tally of who won the most beer pong matches or something like that. But, you're not going to get them to take any classroom notes. I saw some of those photos. I was like, that totally makes sense. You get a bunch of ladies together and maybe you went through some like mental toughness stuff and they're taking notes. Guys, heck no, that's not going to happen.
Okay, well, we'll have to see. We're talking about maybe doing a male version or a couples version in the future. So we'll have to test that theory and see how it goes.
Yes.
But also last night, we learned that we had our lineups for the first Teams broadcast. So we're going to go through some of those and kind of look at what these matches are going to be and get you guys' opinion on who that's going to be. And that's going to be first with the Carolina Coasters versus Missouri Mays. It's going to be on CBS Sports Network. Do we know which day that one is, Trey? Do you happen to know?
Yeah, this one's Sunday, April 9th. At 3 p.m. Eastern. It'll be a 2-hour broadcast showing all 7 games of the head-to-head matchup.
Perfect. So the coaches got together or the captains got together and decided what these matches are going to be. Definitely some on there. No surprise. Lori, Jewel, Miranda, Coy, of course, they're going to be partnered together. Lexi, Emily, of course, they're going to be partnered together. But did any of these really stand out to you guys as kind of surprising as partnerships?
Yeah, hey, Trey, just kind of a big picture to understand. So we're going into National One, right? So we went to the captains and said, hey, we need you to submit your roster. Is that kind of like a 2 or 3 week in advance thing that we'll see at all of the Nationals?
Yeah, anything that's on TV or on a live stream will have the roster set 2 weeks in advance. And in this particular case, they actually had it this year. What we're doing is, unlike last year, where all of the teams submitted lineups blindly, this year we are snaking them, meaning that going first, the teams would have to put up a team. So, for example, they went first. The Coasters went first in this regard. They lost the coin toss, had to put up their team first. And so the Coasters put up and said, my game 1 is going to be Trevor Brooks versus Berkeley Pear. And then the Mays had to answer that game 1, and they answered it with Ryan Windsor and Gavin Cano.
Oh, okay.
And the Mays had to put up a game 2, which was Isidro Herrera and Jalen Jones, which the Coasters answered with Eric Davis and Derek King. So
I love that. That. So you get a peek. You essentially get to see who you want to match up against that, and it kind of snakes that way.
Exactly. So whoever wins the coin toss essentially gets 4 chances to peak and 3 opportunities to put up their own team. So there is an advantage to kind of winning that coin toss, right? Because if you win that coin toss, then you get to respond 4 times and only have to go first 3 times. So that's another added element of this team's broadcast this year that's going to be different and things that we can talk about, right? Because last year it was kind of like, okay, I'm just throwing 7 teams randomly into my roster. But now you have a chance to strategically target it. So right out of the gate, when I see these two teams in this first matchup, we learned a lot about both teams right out of the gate. The Coasters, by going first and saying Trevor Brooks, Berkeley Pear, they took one of their top 2, maybe at worst 3 teams and put them in that first slot out of the gate. right? So that tells us they're looking to get a win early, right? Then the Mays could have responded with their number 6 seed, their number 7 seed, right? And if they had done that, they're essentially telling everybody, okay, Carolina Coasters, I'll let you take game 1 in order to win further. But no, that's not what they did.
Yeah.
Ryan Coaster took him as a captain and one of his top picks and said, no, I'm going to beat your number 2 or your number 3 team, right? So we learned a lot about this. So right out of the gate, when we talk about national number 1 and we talk about this kickoff battle and how it's going to go, this team's matchup between these two, we're going to get an opportunity right out of the gate to know there's a ton on the line just in this first game.
Yeah, so there's some strategy there. I mean, like you said, if the Coasters disclosed their number 1 seed and their number 2 seed and said, hey, we're going to take our 2 best players, make them a doubles team, and disclose that, the Mays could have come in and said, all right, we're going to take our 2 worst players and essentially just call that a loss. But then we're going to be strong moving forward for the rest of our matches. So, yeah, certainly some strategy involved. I love that concept.
Yeah, and just looking at this and looking at the overall matchups, like I think it's really evenly split if I go game by game, right? If you told me the Coasters versus the Mays, I would have told you the Coasters have a strong advantage.
Yep.
But I think if the Mays can win game 1, that gives them a really good path because they're taking out one of the top pairings for the Coasters right out of the gate, right? Windsor and Kano, if they can take down Brooks and Pear, you got to think Davis and King are going to be favored in theirs. Then we go to the next matchup for those watching or listening without audio. So, okay, let's go through the matchups, actually. So Ryan Windsor, Gavin Kano, Trevor Brooks, Berkeley Pear. That's Mays versus Coasters. Like I said, I think maybe the edge goes a little bit towards the Mays there. Eric Davis and Derek King for the Coasters, then taking on Isidro Herrera and Jalen Jones. I think Davis and King have the advantage there, right? Then if you go down to that third one, I think the third one is the first spot where Anthony, and Michelle, I don't know if I really see a strong sway either direction. Maybe a little bit for the Coasters with Dave Morse and Nick Patuski taking on John Fuentes and Brandon Brown from the Mays. Maybe a little bit leaning towards the Coasters. But I think you could go either direction there.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, Fuentes, I think you look at Fuentes and Morse as pretty close. I mean, I think that one's going to be a head-to-head. We saw Brandon Brown recently have some success. It's going to come down to Patuski, in my opinion, here. And he's had some broadcast experience through the juniors USA Cornhole stuff. He can throw at a high elite level. I think that one comes down to Patuski to pull that one out for the Coasters. But I agree, that's pretty evenly matched at match 3.
And then as you go down, Jamie Graham, James Baldwin against Stephen Bernasette and Tony Mayball. Again, I kind of like Graham and Baldwin there. But then I think Ethan Walker and Austin Renard would be favored over Kaylee Hunter and Chad Hunt just based on how well Ethan Walker has been throwing, right? So, like, this could come down, like, the way I'm seeing this is essentially what I'm saying, guys, is like, I thought this would be a domination by the Coasters. And I'm saying to myself, there's a chance this goes to game 6 and even game 7. I mean, how cool is it going to be if it's 3-2 going into the all-female matchup of Lexi Hugeback, Emily Downer versus Lori Dool and Miranda Coy? I mean, that matchup may be my favorite of all of them, and I'm just hoping it may be enough to completely sway the entire match.
And then we have to look at the pressure there because obviously Dool and Coy have broadcast experience. So I'm just wondering how that's going to play into it being kind of favored towards them with Hugeback and Downer. We haven't even really seen them yet this season.
Quiet.
Right.
Quiet in the preseason.
Yes. No idea what they're going to come out and do.
No idea. They're just coming out strong. Like, here we are, coming on a broadcast, showing everybody who we are. I mean, I really have no idea what to expect. Like, we know what they've done in the past, and we definitely know Dool and Coy. We have a lot of experience with them. So this one, I'm really interested in seeing.
Yeah, I agree, Trey, man. Now seeing how these matchups, like you said, I had the Coasters favored in this one. But, yeah, looking at the matchups, it literally could come down to that last match. You know, with Harvey going to be the standout across the bottom. You've got Trox. You got Matthew Trox. Is it Troxel?
Yes.
Troxel and Kearns versus Harvey and Whitaker. Harvey's going to be the standout for me in that lineup. We've seen some success from Kearns. We don't have a lot on Troxel and Whitaker, so that would be awesome if it came down. How about the order of the matches? Is this going to be the order of the matches on TV, Trey, where they would be the anchor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that matchup could be the deciding match at a game 7, essentially.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think the Coasters are favored here. I think they should be the favorite. But the key, I'm thinking game 1, game 3. If you want to be the Mays and you want to beat the Coasters, the team that everybody's saying is going to be unbeatable, the Mays can do that if they can win game 1, which is Ryan Windsor and Gavin Cano have to beat Trevor Brooks and Berkeley Pear. And I think you have to win John Fuentes and Brandon Brown versus Dave Morris and Nick Patuski. If you can do that, I think you're set up to take down this matchup.
And are we going to get lines on this?
Yes.
Or how does that work? Is it like there's just the team that wins or individual games?
Don't know yet what DraftKings is going to come out with. I'm assuming they're going to come out with an overall head-to-head, but they could also come out with individual game as well.
Cool. Well, excited to see that. But we also have our next matchup. That's going to be the Texas Bullybaggers versus the Ohio Aviators. Texas Bullybaggers obviously being in their home state, so we have to give them home field advantage as we're looking at these matchups. But what are your feelings about this one?
Yeah, this is Friday, April 7th, 9:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network to kick off kind of the weekend as far as broadcasts go. And I think this one's even more interesting from a first game perspective because the Aviators went first. The Aviators right out of the gate put up Trey Birchfield and Noah Almanza.
A beast team out of the gate. That's a beast team.
They're two best. And the Bullybaggers walked up to him and said, we're going to fight. I mean, this is going to be an absolute brawl. So AJ Sims and Dylan Turpin were elected to play against Birchfield and Almanza, which to me was a shock, an absolute shock, because the Aviators, like, I don't know, if I was a captain, Anthony and Michelle, I don't know if you guys would approach it differently, but if you're going to take your literal 2 best players, statistically, those are their 2 best players when you look at the rosters. I likely would have probably thrown a game 7 team in there, given them a win. If you're going to use all your firepower, because now they're using one of their captains and AJ Sims in this matchup. Yes, if you win, you're a genius. But if you lose, you're really putting your team in an overall difficult position for the rest of the match.
Those would be some crazy odds if you take Sims Turpin. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no doubt. And the Bullybaggers didn't even bring their best team forward. So the Aviators brought their best team forward. The Bullybaggers brought a crazy strong team forward, but we could argue that Grindersleeve-Batson is going to be their best team forward. I mean, if you look at some of the top rankings in doubles last year, I mean, they were both up there. So, hey, Turpin Sims are going to be tough. I think I'd be curious at why they picked that one. I think it's winnable, but I wouldn't say that they took their best 2 against their best 2.
Right. Yeah. I don't think it's anything wrong to say that it's 1A, 1B, maybe the 1B team, but again, this is 1 of 1. It's not like Birchfield is playing with Tyler Cobb and Almanza's playing with Hamilton, and you could argue 1A, 1B on that front. No, this is the Aviators' number 1 team, no doubt, no question, and which just made it an interesting decision for me for the Bullybaggers to go out there. So, and then you go down game 2, Josh Glover, Ernest Monarca, Andrew Guy, Ben Brown. That feels like a coin flip to me. That feels like whoever's hot wins that. Grindersleeve-Batson, Morrison, Spiess feels like Grindersleeve-Batson need to win that, right? I mean,
they have to win that one.
You have to. You're your number 1 seed. Going down the next, I think Gabe Dolan, Carson Getty for the Aviators against Kenny Tackett and Deborah Odom. Look, I mean, I love Deborah Odom, but the way Carson Getty's been throwing recently, that feels like a a favorite towards the Aviators here.
100.
So
They're I think a heavy favorite in my opinion.
Maybe a coin flip on game 5. How about game 6? That was like, as the lineups were coming through, you're like, okay, when are these guys going to be put into the lineup? And then boom, Jordan Camba, Matthew Stout, Fisher Hamilton, and Tyler Cobb. Talk about a heavyweight matchup in the second to last game. That may be a deciding factor again of this game, just based on how the first half is gone. So it's just, this is a wild matchups we're seeing here in this one.
Yeah, I love that game 6, and that one to me is going to be Matt Stout. Where are you at? You know, we've seen some elite level play out of this guy, broadcast talent. You know, able to make that right up to that broadcast. I think, did he make that broadcast, or was he right outside? Do you remember, Trey, when we were, what was that, Kansas or something like that?
Yeah, right outside, I believe.
I think he was one match away. I think he was one. Either way, it's going to come down to Stout. He's the quiet one. You look at this list. We see a lot of Tyler Cobb. We see a lot of Hamilton. Camba's been competing a lot, but Matthew Stout, where are you at, my man? I mean, that's going to be the factor right there. That game 6 is going to be fun.
If they get to it. I feel it's a possibility they won't.
You think? You see a dominating first 5 in this?
Well, I'm not saying that it's a sure thing. I'm just saying it could happen.
It could happen.
Yeah, so let's go to Michelle's point. I think Birchfield and Almanza are favored.
Yes.
Right? They got to be, I think. Guy Brown, let's say they win. I said it's a coin flip. They win that. They can lose Morrison Spiess.
Yep.
And then Dolan Getty, I said, are favored.
Yep.
And then, again, maybe another coin flip game in that one, although I'd probably give Kingfisher and Saladino maybe a little bit of an edge. But, you know, it's not crazy to think that. I just keep going back to the decision of AJ Sims, Dylan Turpin. Like, that's the team I'm going to put up against Trey Birchfield, Noah Almanza. Like, I think it was a huge risk to do that.
Yeah, take Saladiner and Carpenter. Throw them in your first match. Good luck, boys. Hey, if you can pull this win out for us, awesome. If not, no worries. Don't stress. If you pull a loss out, we got a strong next 6. Right. So I think that would have been a good reaction to the top 2.
I guess the only thing you can say in favor of the coin flips is that they're in Texas. There's going to be a lot of Texas love there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Texas support. So that might help with some of those coin flip options, but definitely going to be interesting. Next, we have news around the league. We did have some teams transactions happen in the last week. Brian Schramm was picked up by the Kentucky Colonels after they dropped Scott Schultz. And Rob Vojanov, God, I hate this name. Vojanov?
Good.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, Rob. Picked up by Chicagoland Spinners after being dropped by Missouri Mays, and they dropped Chad Mayberry. And so I think it's Rob and Matthew Morton that have already been on 2 teams. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So essentially, literally, it was almost hours after it happened. I mean, the Missouri Mays set their lineups for the broadcast, the TV broadcast, and Vojanov was not on there. And he said, cut me. He said,
wow.
I want to be cut. So Ryan Windsor said, okay, and let him walk away. So, and then immediately.
Wait, say that again? Vojanov said, cut me?
Cut me. Because I was like, I want to be on TV. He said, I wasn't in the starting lineup, so cut me.
Oh, got you.
So he left, and then 2 different teams put in waiver claims for Vojanov to pick him up. It was the Marauders and the Spinners, but the Spinners were higher on the waiver wire list, so they got to pick up Vojanov. So that's
going to be interesting to track later in the season. Like, was that decision on?
Right, and what I'm interested to see is like if it's knowing, and I don't know if I don't know if the Spinners knew that, but like if they did, if the Spinners knew that they were picking up somebody that had already left another team because they weren't on the lineup, like are the Spinners essentially conveying like I'm definitely going to put this guy in the starting lineup? Like, I don't know. I mean, or is the same thing going to happen again? Right.
Right.
Someone else will get me. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Vojanov is one of those where I don't know his game nationally yet, but I keep seeing him showing up in regional level play or just local level play. And I keep saying his name. So it's like, I feel like this guy is worthy of being on a broadcast. And clearly, if someone's coming to pick him up that got 2 waivers, somebody wants him. So I think he's going to outplay, where he's being positioned on the Missouri Maze. I think he
Agreed.
will.
Yeah. We also have the Atlantic Conference. We had 230 doubles teams, over 400 singles players, and over 30,000 in payouts. Open blind draw winners, James Baldwin and DJ Powell. Open doubles, Ryan Smith and Berkeley pair. And open singles, Jamie Fincham. Is it Jamie or Jaime? I can't tell if it's a typo.
Jamie.
It is Jamie. Okay, just a typo. Jamie Fincham wins over Devin Harbaugh. So big win there.
Yeah.
Anybody winning over Devin Harbaugh right now is shocking, especially a name that. Yeah, what do you got? What do you got on this guy?
It doesn't matter. Pros cannot win the the Atlantic Conference.
Oh, is that the history?
It cannot happen. I've seen it. Like every time I look at an Atlantic Conference, it's some amateur has come in and beat all these great pros out of the Atlantic Conference, and then they'll all go to the Opens, and all the pros will finish higher than all the amateurs. But when you talk about at the Open event, I think Austin Cameron did it like 3 times last year. Like the pros, I don't know what it is. They can't win the conferences.
What the heck? I think Austin Cameron, that's the kid, right? It's like a young player.
Yes.
So he won everything in advance, I think, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we looked at that one.
Good to see James Baldwin on a podium. I know it's a blind draw, but like that gives me a little bit of, positivity towards, a personal James Baldwin fan going into the season.
Nice.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Meesh, I didn't want to glaze over the team transaction. I mean, can we talk about Brian Schramm for a second and how vocal he was about the result of the draft? You go first, Meesh. You go first.
I like how he said, "Can we talk about this?"
Yeah.
And go, Michelle. You talk
about
Michelle.
it. It's an interesting, there's a lot there to unpack. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting how he approached not being drafted, how he approached being drafted. It's unique.
Yeah, it's unique. I think that's a good way to put it. It's in Brian Schramm style, where it's like passive aggressive, maybe. It kind of is like, I'm gonna make a big deal, but it's not a big deal. And then it is kind of a shot fired, and then it just gets uglier in the comments below. But bottom line, Brian Schramm was not happy with the draft. He felt like he should have been picked up. He made it very well known on media, and then here it is, the Colonels dropping Schultz, looks like, coming in to grab Schramm. So he's in the mix. There you are, my man.
Yeah,
now you got to go out and back it up.
Yeah, what's going to happen if he's not on the lineup, though? No, we're going to hear about that.
I will say that if there's any benefit from not being the first one, is that like all these players, if you're not on the first broadcast of the season, you get an opportunity to prove it, right? So like if Schramm, there's no doubt in my mind, if Schramm goes out through the rest of the season until the Colonels play a little bit later in the year on TV, if he plays throughout the regular season and finishes at a high level and is playing better than the other people on his team, he's going to get a spot. That's so hard about kind of being the first here. This first event, this first TV broadcast, you're kind of saying to yourself, I kind of have to go on who's hot, who's not. I'm kind of taking guesses here and there to see who the best part for the lineup is going to be.
That's true. That's a good point. All right, next up, we got rapid fire picks. I'm going to read a category and 3 names. You tell me who you're going to pick. Trey, most entertaining shot maker between Eric Davis, Noah Wooten, Devin Harbaugh.
I don't think it's particularly close. I'm going Eric Davis.
No. Yeah, not even close.
Maybe Wooten has got some stuff in there sometimes that once in a blue moon. Tony Smith is kind of the same way too. I know he wasn't on this list, but Eric Davis, it's not close.
And okay, most entertaining shot maker between Kyle Malone, Jordan Power, and Ryan Windsor.
Power's like I feel like I could watch Jordan Power play marbles and I'd probably get a kick out of it. It's just like I don't know. It's just he's an energy guy. I like it.
Okay, Anthony.
Yeah, I would put in shot maker and entertaining. I'd put Malone third. I don't think that he's going to be in that category. More strategic, more clean shots. I think Windsor's going to hit more complicated shots than Power, but we're going to get more energy out of power, making a shot feel like it was even better. So I'd have to go with Jordan Power because of the entertaining piece of that. I think he's going to make it more entertaining.
All right. Best air mailer out of Kaylee Hunter, Yeti Irwan, Lori Duel. Trey.
Tough one. I'm not going to say Lori, and only because Lori is a very conservative player. Like she's the type, she's going to limit her ability, limit her time to airmail. So like it's simply because of volume at that point. So I'm going between Yeti and Kaylee. I think Kaylee gets more opportunities to do so and hits it more often than not. So I'll go. So I'll say Kaylee. Did I say Yeti? I meant to say Kaylee if I said Yeti, but it's Kaylee.
No, you said Kaylee. Okay. Anthony?
Yeah, I agree with your Lori Duel comment, Trey. Coming down to Irwan and Hunter. Now, Irwan is starting to play a little bit more of a speed-controlled game, so she's finding herself in airmail situations way more often, and she's really backing it up with a tough airmail. I think we're going to see her shooting a lot more airmail this year, but I think Hunter's gonna get that edge right now for me on best airmailer.
Okay, how about best airmailer between Damon Dennis, Jimmy McGuffin, and Matt Guy?
Dang.
Yeah. I want to say it's tough, but I'm always going to go Jimmy McGuffin. Like
over
I watched him. No, it's not even like I don't care. I don't care. Like I watched Jimmy McGuffin in Arizona walk up to the board, and these guys that have never seen cornhole before, they break out their phones and like, I'm going to get this guy playing cornhole, and he just rattles off 16 airmails in a row. Not like he was practicing somewhere. He was on the main stage. Yes, it was a little bit of but he like just casual 16 in a row airmails. Then picked up his bags and walked away. He said, "I'm good." Like I think I got it. I'm gonna go McGuffin.
Anthony.
I think Dennis falls off of this one pretty quick. Awesome airmailer, but he falls off. Like you said, McGuffin Guy. In my opinion, these are the two best airmailers on the planet. So I'm not as quick to go to McGuffin. This is tough, man. I got to go the other way, Trey, just for the purposes of this discussion. Would love to see it head-to-head, maybe 100 airmail. Who hits the most? I'm going to go Matt Guy on that one.
That'd be really
fun.
Matt Guy. All right, best push or cleanup shot between Alex Rawls, Mark Richards, Devin Harbaugh.
Yeah, if we're cleaning stuff up, I got to go Rawls. That's how we got to number 2 player in the world last year, right? I mean, maybe Richards can give him some run. Maybe a better push, like a long push for Harbaugh. But if I'm kind of giving it an all-encompassing stat, I'm going to give it a Rawls.
Anthony? Agree?
Yeah, I agree. Devin's going to keep the board a little bit more clean nowadays. That's the style he's playing. Mark Richards is good at cleaning up, but Rawls, I think he definitely stands out on that list as a cleanup guy.
Okay, how about between Cheyenne Bubenheim, Matt Guy, and Jamie Graham?
You didn't want to read the name as it's written on our run of show?
That's how my husband, that's his jokes. That's what he calls it.
Yeah, best push shot cleanup. Again, I really want to put Cheyenne here, but Jamie Graham has just become the world's best push shot player. And if he's not one, he's maybe 1B, right? So I have to go with Jamie Graham. I don't think Cheyenne can be as consistent enough with it because she does have her off days. I'll go Graham.
Anthony?
Guy falls off quick. That's not his specialty. That is tough. I mean, that is Cheyenne's. Cheyenne, I think, would win the cleanup close to the hole. Jamie Graham, I mean, he's right there close to the hole, but he has just nasty lower level pushes that I don't think Cheyenne has that juice. I'm going to go Jamie Graham as well because of his ability to push in all levels on the board.
All right. Best roll shot between Jacob Gore, Isabella, and Ethan Walker.
Ethan's got a good one that I've seen, but he's got to do it more often. Bella, I've seen her sometimes. If she's not on, she'll cut a lot left on that roll. I get to see Jake at all these conferences. I get to see him at the regionals. The dude is unbelievable when he's locked in. I'm going Jake Gore.
Anthony?
That one's tough. That one is actually pretty tough. And I don't think we have the best roll shot guys on the list here, so I think this is cool. I mean, this is pretty close. Ethan definitely impressed at that recent Open. He showed that he's an elite level roller. I'm gonna have to go with for the same reasoning, go with Jake as well on that one. That was a good call, Trey.
And then how about between Vincent Frisch, Jacob Foreman, and Ryan Fillingham? Roll shots.
This is tough too. I haven't seen enough of Frisch to be able to say that that's going to be the number one. Based on what I'm most familiar with, I'm going to go with Jacob Foreman, but I could be grossly wrong there and not seeing how they're a lot throwing over the past 6 months. Haven't seen a ton of footage on all of them to be able to say one way or the other, but I'll go Foreman.
Anthony?
Yeah, I'm with Trey again on this one. I think Fillingham at the bottom of the list, although he does, he's able to demonstrate that capability. Just haven't had enough of Frisch, but I have seen some matches, and he does it pretty well. I'm just more familiar with Foreman. We've seen his success in doubles last year, depending on that roll bag. So just his ability to rise above all the players in doubles using a roll bag, I'm going to go with Foreman as well.
All right. For the sake of time, we're going to go to the last one. Most unique throw, Ryan Windsor, Tom Gustafson, Adam Hisner.
It's got to be Gustafson. We're talking about a guy that spins it the wrong way. I mean, the dude is just
not right.
I mean, he's just making it up. He just made a shot up. So
what if you add Justin Stranger to that list? That's a unique one as well. Anthony?
Yeah, I would agree. Windsor unique only because of the movement he gets in his calves, kind of in the bottom. He gets that little just kind of that weird little lower base movement. Adam Hisner still throwing with a cup in his hand and being successful at the top. It still blows my mind. It just seems like it's more things to think about. But yeah, what Gustafson can do with the reverse Mamba, so unique. I've only know 3 players at I'd say at above a competitive level that are actually successful with that. So that's very unique.
Agreed. All right, next up we got buy or sell. I'll read you something and you let me know if you're going to buy or sell. The first one being someone not named Alex Hicks will be this year's best under 18 player.
I'm going to say Anthony's going to hate me for this. I'm going to say buy just because of the volume that I get. So I get to choose Alex Hicks, or I get Jake Gore, Jack Gore, Fisher Hamilton, and Vincent Frisch, and Adrian Brunson, and all these other guys, and Caleb Batson, and all those guys. Yeah, I'll take the volume, right? Anthony can sell it all he wants, but I'm taking the volume, baby.
Anthony, are you selling it?
I'm selling, and Trey's right. I mean, he's taking the field, right? He's got a lot to work with there, but I'm going to hold true to my top 10. Alex Hicks is my only U18, I believe. No, we have Fisher in there, don't we? We have Fisher Hamilton in there. How old's Fisher Hamilton?
16.
Ooh.
I know. I just threw a wrench in your plan. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have to sell. I actually have Hamilton ranked above Alex Hicks in the top 10 we just dropped. So
that means you would buy it. Someone
I would
named
sell.
Alex
Yeah, sorry, I would buy. Yeah, you're right. I'm with you, Trey. Again.
Wow.
I was hoping you'd disagree with me.
I know. I can't drop my top 10 and then back out of it.
Go against it.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Second one, Brandon Brown will have the best run out of all the Canadians in open singles at the Canadian Open next weekend. By yourself.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm excited to learn more. Like, Canada's growing so much. Last year, just a quick, plug here. Last year only had about 70 or 80 teams at the Canadian Open. This year, completely sold out at 190 teams. So awesome. It is unbelievable how much the Canadian Open in the same location has been able to grow year over year. So it's just really exciting to see. A lot of great Canadian talent. Can't wait to learn a lot about them. I think Brandon Brown is kind of that leader. I'm thinking Anthony's going to buy it. So I'm going to sell it and say Connor Weiss, who is an ACL pro this year out of Canada, takes the top spot.
Anthony?
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. Obviously, my knowledge isn't up there, but from what I know, and actually one of the recent was it ACL Live where we had Doug on? He gave us some good information on that. Yeah, so going off of what I learned in that episode, I'm going to have to buy that. But real quick, Trey, and this might help me later in the show in some of our discussions. Who were the main American players in that Canadian? Did you say Joe Kay was in that Canadian Open?
Yeah, Joe. There's a bunch going. There's actually like 15 or 20. I believe Ryan Smith just said he's going up there too. So
really? Okay.
Jordan Powers going. Timmy Jonas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a good bit.
I remember the list you dropped. Okay.
All right, next one. There will be more than 3 trades in teams before the season ends.
I'm going to buy it. I really am going to buy it. I think we're going to see some trades because I think the dynamic that's going to happen is that there's a couple things. One, we're going to get out of the first national, and there's going to be 4 to 5 players that have really good runs that are not on a team right now. And so so that are on somebody's team right now that people are going to look for draft capital or they're going to look for, value in here and there. They're going to try to get some top level players by trading away some players that had really good runs. I think there's also some teams that are just going to flat out get desperate, right? They're going to go 0-4 at this event and say something's not working. They're going to turn around and say, look, I drafted you in the second round. I need some more depth. My top players won, but I need better players, right? And so I really think there's just going to be some animosity. Some people are going to be like, I don't like playing for you. I don't like that you're not putting me with the right player in the lineups. I don't like that I'm, paired with this person in doubles. So I absolutely think we're going to see a large number of players. So I would say buy.
Okay. Anthony?
Yeah, I would agree. It's gonna all come down to those last 2 draft picks on each team. I think there's a lot of players out there that are better than the paper says that they are, and a lot of these captains were going off of just some stats. You don't know all 300 and whatever players, so I think some players are going to show how good they are at the first national, really raise their value, and then some coaches or captains are going to look at their last pick or their last 2 picks and go, I think I could swap in some more depth there, like you were saying, Trey. So I would buy that we're going to have more than 3.
All right, last one. The Gores are the best family doubles team.
All right, let's go through these real quick. The Ryans.
Yeah.
No more Hollands.
Hollands.
That's a big one.
No more guys.
No more guys.
Right. So, who else we missing? The Fillinghams.
What about the Kufis? The Kufi.
The Kufi. The Cups. The Cups
Cup.
and the Kufi.
We got the Arizona boys too.
Sassueta.
We got the Sassuetas.
Ooh.
That's a tough one.
Gosh, I'm gonna go buy. I am gonna buy. I would buy it if I'm going to buy it based on the current situation. If I get to take all the family members and put them with their family members, if they're not together, I would sell it and say that the guys would end up finishing the highest. But I think you could maybe argue the Hollands too. Either one. I could go back and forth on that. But yeah, I'm gonna buy it.
Okay, Anthony.
This one's tough. I'm gonna sell. Yeah. I think the Sassuetas are going to come out pretty hot this year.
I like that.
The Ryans are so tough too, and it's going to come down to Pops. And he's shown that he can hang. So I'm gonna sell. That's a tough one. Let's follow that one. Let's watch that one to the end. That's a good one.
Watch it. All right, cool. All right, we got our we did singles rankings last week. Now we're going to do doubles rankings. So we're going to look at where your doubles teams are. Trey, we'll start with yours. What you got?
I'll make a comment. This one, I think I made it last time we did this. This is way harder than singles. Way harder. I don't know, maybe if it's that way for you, Anthony, but this is brutal. Absolutely
It is
brutal.
that way. It is that way.
Because I had 13 teams that I wanted to put in the top 10, and I can't do that. So, because you and I do this differently, I think. I think the way you do it is you just do your top 20 and then shave it. I'm like, is this team a top 10 player? Yes, no, yes, no. And so I went through all of them. And I was like, these are 13, and then I order them kind of thing. So Anyway, number 1, I got Alex Rawls and Trey Birchfield. Okay, I got Alex Rawls number 1 in both singles and doubles. I think right now Birchfield is playing better than Philip Lopez, which is why I have Birchfield and Rawls at number 1 over Lopez and Richards at number 2. In reality, I think it's a coin flip. Flip a coin, pick whichever one you want it there at 1 or 2. Number 3, I have Jamie Graham and Matt Guy. Easily could flip-flop with any really of the top 2. Jamie Graham and Matt Guy, they're always going to be delivered. They're always going to do really, really well. This is where I kind of start getting funky. I think we're going to be very different, Anthony, this time, just because. But who knows? I say all this, and we have the similar mindset. I have Tony Smith and Jacob Trzynski at 4. Okay. I was just really impressed when I saw them in person in Winter Haven. I love their energy. I think this season they're going to come out and really kill it. When I think back to last season, Trzynski was with Hogue, and they had a really strong run the first half of the season. And I think Tony Smith, no offense, Storm Hogue, Tony Smith is a much higher elite level player. And I think because of that, they're going to go on a really, really deep run and have some really strong success. Number 5, I got Anthony loves this one. I got Ryan Windsor and Alex Hicks. Both of them as individuals at the open level right now throwing better than most people. Okay, and now you put them on a team. I think with the lights shine bright, they get to a national, they're really going to put on a show. All the way up after their shootout win, I have Ryan Smith and Ryan Wiedenfeld. The Ryans, they're going to be, I have them at number 6. I really think when you talk about Ryan Wiedenfeld's shot-making ability, you pair that with the leadership and the intelligence of Ryan Smith on the other end, you have yourself a team that is really, really deadly and really, really strong. Number 7, really on the back of one player, I got Jimmy Humans and Kyle Malone. Malone, I have him absolutely shredding it right now. And although Jimmy Humans as an individual player hasn't played his best over the past 3 months, I know that he has it, and I know he'll figure it out this season. I really think he's going to have a really strong push, and they have a great year this year. I have him at 7. Number 8, I have Fisher Hamilton and Gavin Cano. Okay, Gavin Cano alleviated a lot of the doubts that I had when he won with Mark Richards. He won that event ago. I think Hamilton and Cano are going to compete at every single event that they play at this season. They're going to be a deadly team. I cannot believe I'm saying this is a number 9 team.
What do you got?
But I have Jay Rubin and Jordan Power.
Yeah.
Our world champions, I have at number 9. They deserve to not be in the top 10. The only reason that they are in my top 10 right now is because they are a world champion. I have not seen the same level of consistency. They are not the same team that won, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that if they showed up to a national today or when they show up in a couple weeks, it's going to be game time. And when it's game time, they show up and play. Finally, I have 4 teams at number 10 that I need to pick one, okay? Ultimately, I landed on Devin Harbaugh and Derek King simply because how good Harbaugh is doing. King doesn't need to be elite. I think there's a chance that he's elite and they could be as good as a top 5 team. But as of right now, Harbaugh and King are going to be somebody that not a lot of people want to play simply because Devin Harbaugh is so hot. Right on the outside, I have Eddie Grindersleeve and Caleb Batson. I have Hunter Thorne and Noah Wooten. And I have Alan Rawls and Chris Kingsbury right on the outside looking in as well. So there is my top 10, Anthony. Please tell me we're a lot bit different than we were in singles.
Not a lot bit. But some. Yeah, some. I'll point out the some. So our 1, 2, 3 are the same, not in the same order, but like you said, I think it's a flip of the coin. I went Richards Lopez number 1, then Guy Graham, then Rawls Birchfield. You went, just slightly different. You mixed those up a little bit different. My number 4 was your number 5, so we were close there. I'm going Hicks and Windsor at number 4. You had Trzynski and Smith. I also have them in my top 10. They're just a couple slots down. Here's where I went Rubin and Power at number 5 for the same reason. Yes, everything you said, I agree with. The only thing that I was hung up on was that they did finish, I believe they finished 3rd or 4th last season in doubles, period. So to me, that was the consistency I needed to keep them in the top 5, but I don't have the world champs at 1. I moved them down to 5 for the same reasoning you had. Number 6, Fisher and Cano. I was only 2 spots away from you. You had them at number 8. I had Smith and Trzynski at 7. You had them at 6. Smith and Wiedenfeld also in my top 10. I have them at 8. You had them at 6. So again, we're really close. Here's where we start to differ a little bit. Your Humans and Malone, where you were putting that team in there, I went with Neisted and Schermerhorn. So that's kind of where we differ. Are they even in your maybe top 15 somewhere, Trey?
They might be 15.
Okay. So they're up there top 15. And then I had a hard time like you with 10. You went Harbaugh and King. I couldn't do it. I went Zockline Halbert. And I don't know why. I think it just comes down to these guys are so OG. I mean, are they playing at a top 10 level? We don't really, I don't know. I wouldn't. Yes, I think they're playing at a top 15 level, but I don't know. I feel like they're 11, 12, 13. But the fact that they're so OG and they really showed out taking 6th last season overall, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and putting them at 10. And then right outside, I can't forget Batson Grindersleeve, who always seem to be right outside of top 10. Some other ones you might not have mentioned. Madeline Bubenheim really moved up the list for me. That new partnership, I had her previous partner in them right around like 25, so she's sneaking into, I'd say, top 15 for me. Bernadette Brooks are one of the other ones that you didn't mention, but the other ones you did mention right outside of top 10, I also have on my radar there as well, so there's mine.
Curious, you guys, did you have Holland in your top 10?
Holland would have been in my top 10 for sure.
Did
you say Holland? Yeah.
Yeah, before they split. Was that in your top 10?
I would have put them, if you say they got back together right now, I would put them maybe 8 or 9. Yeah, they're in there for sure.
I actually pulled them out of the top 10 the last time we did this. I think it was December, November. I pulled them out at that point, and they were right outside of top 10, so they were already out for me.
They were already out.
Yeah, only because Derek was killing it. Josh was kind of something iffy was going on, so I just that was the only reason I pulled them right outside of 10.
Yeah, and the only one, the team I pulled out that was probably a shock to a lot of people would be Halbert and Zockline, and that's because last year, how many times did we talk about that we felt like Halbert was kind of carrying the team? And then Halbert hasn't been that level of dominance so far this year. So, that's just what worries me. Do I think they turn it around? Absolutely. But Zockline's got to play a better role this year. He's got to, point blank.
Facts.
I think he knows that, and I think that that's going to be reflected is my guess. But we shall see. All right, Trey, do you have a hot take for us?
Yeah, I think one team that I keep trying to fit into that top 10 that's going to maybe sneak in there at number 10, maybe number 10 by the end of the year, Allen Rawls, Chris Kingsbury. I think they sneak into the top 10 by the end of the year. I think they're that team that we go, oh, they finished top 10. Wow, good for them. So I expect a high finish this year from Allen Rawls and Chris Kingsbury.
Okay. Anthony, what you got?
I kind of like the direction you went on your hot take there. I'm kind of thinking the same thing, but I don't know if it's a hot take. So I'm gonna come off of that one. I wanted to jump over to the Canadian because I think it's time for Joe K to win a tournament. That's why I was looking for your confirmation earlier that he was on that roster. But I say Joe K takes down the Canadian Open. I think he's due. Maybe I came out a little early. What was it, like a year ago where I started talking Joe K and everyone's like,
yes,
why is he talking Joe K? Maybe
it's
time to get
let up.
I never let up. So come on, Joe K. Canadian Open winner right there. First ACL championship.
Okay, and I'm gonna go with Brian Schramm. I think because that pressure is either gonna carry him or crush him. I think he steps up. I think we see a good performance from him, and he does end up on a lineup for his new team, and I think he will surprise some of those players because he's really got something to prove. So we will see if that happens. That's all the time we have for today. We will see you guys all next time.
What's up, guys? Still here?
What's going on?
Round 2 hot take, Meesh.
I feel like I'm on a TV show, where they just stay on the actor's face forever and they're just staring off.
I'm trying to end it.